Hello and welcome to the very best of British steam today. Based on the telerail DVD, this film shows the best footage of preserved railways across the length and breadth of Britain. Although battered by the pandemic, the railways hold a special place in the hearts and minds of the nation. They need all the help and donations they can get to keep this slice of old Britain alive. Most lines closed from Beeching's notorious cuts in the early 1960s, but the preservation scene that sprung up thereafter is a vital part of our heritage and tourism industry. And now we show you a collection of clips from some of the most best and most popular lines and locomotives across Britain. We start our journey at Sheffield Park. S15847 is one of the hardest working locos on the line. Being of a mixed traffic design, she was a typical example of mixed traffic locomotives on the southern region. The Bluebell Railway is considered the creme de la creme of heritage railways. The line, being 11 miles long, starts from Sheffield Park to Horsted Keynes to Kingscote to now East Grinstead. It being senior to the others, it is celebrating its 60th year since the line was reopened as a preserved line. A Victorian-themed train. E4473 heads a Sheffield Park train to Horsted Keynes. Horsted Keynes, with a 1930s theme, was once the junction to Haywards Heath. Also coming into Horsted Keynes is Standard 5 Camelot, heading towards Sheffield Park. S15, a Sheffield Park train, heads in with an East Grinstead service on the number 3 road with a double-sided platform, which often confuses unwary passengers, with some other shots taken throughout the last 10 years.
train on platform 3 is the 11:45 Victorian train service to East Grinstead, calling at Kingscote and East Grinstead, tolled by 7473 Birch Grove. Thank you.
The Bluebell has some of the best vintage collection of rolling stock, hence the attraction to television and film companies, and also being near London. The Bluebell sets the scene for a southern region setting in idyllic Sussex country, it being showcased from film and television shows such as Downton Abbey and Poirot and many others that I can't quite remember. Wine and dine service on a Green Arrow special. The Pullmans, resplendent, are all 1920s vintage. West Country City of Wells heads out of West Hopefully Tunnel, reaching the summit. A visiting loco from the Keithley and Worth Valley Railway is the only member of her class with a diesel injector to help performance. She's simply sparkling, with a collection of Bullitt, Monsell and BR Mark Is. Quite the collection. The S15 gently coasts into Kingscote, a station with a 1950s theme. With the line now connected to East Grinstead, the railway sees more visitors with its connection with National Rail. Visiting locos and passengers can come and go more easily. Where the Bluebell led the way, other standard gauge railways followed. Currently at the longest is the West Somerset Railway, the Great Western branch that served Taunton to the resort at Minehead. Being 22 miles long, with 7 coach trains in summer or more, and challenging gradients, locos here really do have to work for a living, and is better value for money to customers. Passing contrasting country with seaside scenes from Minehead to Doniford Halt, and through the Quantop Hills to Bishop's Lydiard. The spacious platform at Minehead was extended for long holiday trains from London Paddington, and even a slip coach from the Cornish Riviera Express that would have been attached on the branch line train at Taunton. In 1971 the line was closed, but 5 years later privately opened as the West Somerset Railway. By the shed at Minehead we see a big collection of Western locos, most of them ex-Barry, like 7828 Odney Manor and 2884 class 3850, and updated 28XX. But in the days of steam it was the small prairies that were the prominent rulers of Great Western branch lines. This Welsh tank 4277 is now known as Hercules on the Paynton and Dartmouth line, another seaside western branch line. S&D, Somerset and Dorset Fowler 88 passes Dunster Castle in the horizon. She is owned by the Somerset and Dorset Railway Trust, which is based at Washford. Her contract on the West Somerset Railway has now ended in the year 2020 and now works on the Mid Hants Railway, where she sports BR Black and is numbered 53808. Here near Blue Anchor the line parallels the sea shore, the Bristol Channel, and by a coincidence on the other side is none other than Barry in South Wales, where she was stored for so many years. At Blue Anchor we have a level crossing and museum. Bishop's Lydiard trains here must prepare for the 1 in 65 climb to Washford, after a rather flat run from Minehead. Small Prairie Tank is number 5541, which is another ex-Barry machine. Heading the other way comes BR Standard Mogul 76079. She was also rescued from Barry. This part of the line is where we leave the seafront and head inland. 7822 Foxcote Manor heads into Donnerford Holt, with the Western Region's Inspector's Saloon behind. Very posh. Donnerford Holt is the only station that is not original. It serves the holiday camp and opened in 1987. It is a request stop and serves Donnerford Bay. On an autumnal afternoon, the Quantock Bell dining train heads out from Williton. A modified hall with a loud bark is 6960 Ravingham Hall. She leaves Williton with a 1 in 99 climb here, and then up to a 1 in 84 at Stamford Brett Bridge. Stogumber has the sleepy atmosphere of a rural station in Great Western Country. You can almost smell the wooden floorboards and the disinfectant in the waiting shelter. Many enjoy its gardens and cream teas. The village and pub, the White Horse Inn is about a mile's walk from the station. 4277 completes the scene perfectly. Tannawanna 4160 coasts through Big Nola, with the Quantop Hills, an area of outstanding natural beauty behind. All is ablaze with heather foxgloves ferns and gorse bushes. After a long increasing climb, the summit is at Crocombe Heathfield, a station that has won many awards on its general upkeeping of gardens and station buildings. At this station, much like Willerton, we can see the large gap between the tracks, reminding us of the former broad gauge railway. Then we journey down to Bishop's Lydyard, where the line has connections with National Rail at the junction at Norton Fitzwarren. The West Somerset Railway has installed a turning triangle at Norton Fitzwarren for rolling stock, with occasional charter trains. Although the West Somerset Railway has gone through some tough years of late, it is fair to say the Great Western lives on here.
Train now arriving at platform 2, the 11:42 from Whitehall, moved by 7828 Odney Manor. The buffet car is in the rear of the train. Our gift shop is open for postcards and souvenirs. Thank you.
The 18-mile North Yorkshire Moors Railway has some of the steepest gradients, a wide range of locomotives, rolling stock and impressive scenery. It is most definitely the most scenic heritage line in the country, running through the North Yorkshire Moors National Park from Gromont to Pickering. With its fame from Harry Potter and Heartbeat, the attraction to holidaymakers makes it the busiest as well, with about 350,000 people a year travelling in style. Services now can go up to National Rail's Esk Valley, to Whitby and back. So it is possible for you to travel from Pickering to Whitby Bay and get your fish and chips and scraps as well. Far from her original region, Resident Loco, rebuilt West Country class Heartland, leaves Gromont at 11:45, very much in Yorkshire country. Piglet, the famed traction and rolling stock manager, is enjoying his cuppa on standard 4MT 460 750 29 Green Night. Heartland makes easy work of the gradient. maybe less so 75029, Green Knight, with a continuous gradient of 1 in 49. Black 5 LMS 5428 Eric Tracy is named after the late keen railway enthusiast Bishop of Wakefield. The Bishop, a photographer, has 12,000 photographs now part of the National Railway Museum's collection. Eric Tracy heads into Goathland on a clear late March day. One of the biggest assets of the line is the famous Goathland station, Aidensfield or Hogsmeade even. All details beautifully restored. Most trains overhang this short platform. Between Goathland and Newtondale is the summit through wide moorlands, 560 feet above sea level. At New Bridge Crossing, we once again see 4MT 76079, which we saw on the West Somerset Railway. The terminus at Pickering has a 1930s theme and an impressive roof, right in the heart of town. In 2019, the North Yorkshire Moors held the biggest gala seen on any heritage railway. It's little wonder why this is the most busiest and popular. One of the other early standard gauge preserved railways next to the Bluebell is the Keithley and Worth Valley Railway, 5 miles between Keithley and Oxenhope. And it's all uphill from Keithley, which is why most engines are always facing the Oxenhope direction. With a 1 in 66 straight out of Keithley, and then a 1 in 58 on the way to Ingro. This Stanier Black 5 45212 has worked on the Jacobite in Scotland, the West Highland line, and has worked regularly on the main line and been all around the UK. Like others mentioned before, its popularity has resulted in the railway having to open a loop at Dainham's. The little station here is believed to be one of the smallest in the UK. With the token collected and the starter signal down, standard 2MT number 78022 slips to get moving to Oakworth. There's no time to wait around on this timetable. With vintage rolling stock and stations like Oakworth, they capture the LMS country branch line in Brontes, Yorkshire, and loving childhood memories. Appearing much shorter than in the Railway Children is Myvome's Tunnel at 75 yards long. City of Wells again. When she was resident at the Keithley and Worth Valley, she pulls the Pullman dining experience train away from Daneham's with afternoon tea on a late October day. She sports the golden arrow headboard as she might have worn on her travels to Dover and her passengers for the continent. The last mile is a 1 in 68 to Oxenhope. For a line that is only 5 miles, with dusty stone Yorkshire walls, green lush hillsides and valleys, cottages and a beating engine. A real chocolate box scene is portrayed here. It couldn't be more perfect. Where many would have thought it impossible to have a steam-preserved main line double track from Loughborough to Rothley, the Great Central gives people a chance to have an industrial insight into mainline steam of yesteryear. The line forming into a single track from Rothley to Leicester North. Where the Great Central would have connected to London Marylebone to Sheffield, the Great Central recreates an atmosphere long gone. "6990 Modified Hall Witherslack Hall heads into Loughborough Central. These locos, being mixed traffic, pulled many cross-country trains and could be even seen here, so far away from Western metals. Back in the days of steam, she was stationed at Old Oak Common near London Paddington. Back in the Exchange trials of 1948, she had come up to the Great Central a number of times. The Great Central being the only main line where Western engines could run due to the loading gauge and also clearance problems. Loughborough has been used in the ITV series Agatha Christie Miss Marple in 2004, the 450 from Paddington. The Great Central Railway helped successfully recreate London Paddington in a scene set in the late 50s with maroon Mark Is. Marketing at rail enthusiasts, where the TPO trains can exceed the 25 mph limit and reach up to 45 mph, and private trains up to 65. Stania 8F 48624 rolls into a 1940s theme corn and woodhouse station. This has also appeared in a few films, such as The Crown on Netflix. Crowds greet the travelling post office pulled by 7820 Dinmore Manor. And 70013 Standard 7MT Oliver Cromwell. A shot of when Green Arrow visited, quite a few years ago. Hopefully she will return. with a slack hall passes newly restored Swiftland sidings when this shop was taken in the 90s. We see the windcutter train on the siding, much out of the way. The stock kept here combines of mineral wagons and coaches. Rowfleet is a station set with an Edwardian theme. British Railway Standard 4MT Mogul 76084 departs for Leicester North. Future plans for the Great Central is by far the most ambitious seen. A Connect the Gap movement to reconnect the Great Central at Nottingham with the current Great Central line here at Loughborough, with new bridges and embankments needed to be made. Sir Mill heads from Leicester North to Loughborough. With already a standout image, there is so much more we have yet to see from the Great Central Railway. And now we leave the Midlands to the home counties. In the South Downs, Hampshire, known as the Alps, we come to another southern region route, which once served as a diversionary route from Southampton, Winchester to London. The Mid Hants Railway, or nickname, marketing name, the Watercress Line, has 4 delightful stations, elegant southern England hills, farms and coloured fields of wheat and shades of green, and meadow flowers aglow. Starting from the respectable town of Alresford, the High Street only being down the road, it being a Georgian town which thrived from the wool trade. Black 545379, a resident loco, could almost be seen as if she was on the old Somerset and Dorset. She takes the first train of the day in this summer scene. The line in total is 10 miles long, from Alresford to Alton, with South Western Railway running services to Woking and London Waterloo at Alton. Northside Crossing is just one of the popular locations to watch passing trains working hard. A newly restored S15 506 glimmers in the sunlight. School class Cheltenham has been on the Mid Hants Railway for the past 10 years. She's owned by the National Railway Museum, while 76017, another standard 4MT, is privately owned. Ropley has engine sheds, carriage works and new sidings. A shot from the Southern Gala in 2017. Rebuilt like Pacific Braunton 34046 is dressed up as Lord Dowdall, named after the famous Air Chief Marshal, who was Commander-in-Chief of the Fighter Command in the Royal Air Force during the war. She takes a goods train behind on this hot summer's June day. The yard at Ropley is positively bustling with people, as it should be. Cheltenham again in her new BR livery, a shot taken more recently. "76017 departs for Alresford. Our new home for the 7F that we saw on the West Somerset Railway is now 35808 and now lives on the Mid Hants Railway. And we look forward to seeing her running again, hopefully later in the year. Midstead and Foremarks is the highest station above sea level in southern England. We can see from the platform that the line is dead straight from Wonders Curve. We can see hurrying up the hill is Jeremy Hoskins, 9F 92212. The 9F heads into Alton at the end of our journey. With the line united at last after a temporary cut from Alton to expand Butts Bridge, we can't wait to see services again going over the Alps. And lastly, our last shot of the Mid Hants, we find Cheltenham hauling a late evening service as she and her passengers mellow for an enjoyable evening. And back to the Great Western, in the Midlands, in the counties of Shropshire and Worcestershire. Bridgnorth is the base of the sheds of the busy Severn Valley Railway. 16 miles, with the River Severn never too far away. The Severn Valley is the only railway that runs trains 24/7 into the night on gala days, or should we say nights. Standard tank 80079 coasts on the down gradient at Ardington Bank. The Severn Valley is another example of railway with a grand collection of pristine coach stock. Usually consists like the Great Western set, made up of Collet and Hawksworth bow-ended 1930s rolling stock, LNER teaks, LMS corridor sets, and of course the prestigious British Railways Mark Is, maroon, chocolate and cream, and blood and custard. Highley is just one example of painstaking restoration by volunteers. With all the stations on the Severn Valley being immaculate. Highley, being quite a pretty station, is in the middle of the Severn Valley Country Park. The 28XX 2857, a Great Western goods engine, sets off to Arley. Everything is uniform with this 1930s Great Western train. These engines hauled most of the heavy freight work on the Western region, and were Britain's first 280s. Arley Station, probably very recognisable to you all, where trains usually pass each other, has been in films such as Goodnight Mr. Tom and more famously Oh Dr. Beeching as Hatley. This is one not for the purists. Ravingham Hall slides into the platform. And doesn't she look smart with her LMS coaches? Victoria Bridge is where we cross the River Severn, made of a cast iron designed by John Fowler, who also designed the Forth Bridge and was engineer for the Metropolitan Railway in London. When built, it was the largest single-span bridge made of cast iron in Britain. Bewdley could be the scene of a Great Western Junction in the 1930s. The town, being a tourist destination in its own right, was also the birthplace of former Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin. 7802 Bradley Manor basks with her 4,000-gallon collet tender. She awaits, patiently, as large Prairie 5164 sneaks in with a Kidderminster train. She then sets off for her departure to Bridgnorth. As 5154 sets off for Kidderminster, she passes West Midlands Safari Park on the right. Thankfully, she doesn't blow off here, for it might cause a rumpus with the resident animals. (80079) again, passes rows of scarlet poppies. As the sun sets at Kidderminster, train services work amazingly into the night on this gala day. The station at Kidderminster tries to recreate a mainline terminus, built on the former goods yard with the official mainline to Birmingham on the right. Rebuilt like Pacific class 34027 or rebuilt West Country class or rebuilt Battle of Britain class, Tor Valley departs to Bridgnorth with the sun reflecting on her teak train. As the sun sets over the River Stour, it's moments like this we realise how momentous the preservation movement is, as 80079 silhouettes over Falling Sands Viaduct at Kidderminster. Porthmadog Harbour is the home of one of the best-loved railways in Wales, the Ffestiniog. 13 miles long and now connects with the Welsh Highland Line, with their South African garrets. Starting with a morning service, Prince takes a vintage Victorian train to Blaenau Ffestiniog. The double header is an oddity and rarely happens here. This was only because Prince was needed to be moved to Blaenau Ffestiniog for the opening of the Queen's Hotel. With 8 stations and halts, the station here at Ffestiniog usually serves as a halfway point. Here the engines take on water. Today, like all Ffestiniog engines, it is oil-fired, because when it was coal-fired, they were too frequently setting the line-side woodland alight. Behind Prince is David Lloyd George, named after the famous Welsh Prime Minister who won the war, built in 1992. The Ffestiniog was built to carry freight across the valleys, but was seen as a loss maker by the 1930s. After 1946 it had entirely closed, but slowly started to revive in the 1950s. At the end of the line at Blaenau Ffestiniog, we see a mix of standard gauge and narrow gauge. The station, built in 1982, now connects the railway with National Rail. And then she turns around for a departure back to Portmeadow Park. The diesel multiple unit, a Class 150, connects Blaenau Ffestiniog to Conway. Just by chance, a West Coast Railway charter train visits, which is very much a rarity here. LMS 8F 48151, Gauge O'Gill. They both leave in style. although the days of British steam are long over, railways still need our help and capture the real essence of a thriving, beating heart of Britain and of life yesteryear. Without the help of volunteers and of your keen interest, it would not have been possible for future generations to see and enjoy. So please do support them. Now, a lot of dialogue and footage was copied from the telerail DVD with added sounds for enhancement. Hopefully they weren't any mistakes. I'm crossing my fingers here now, with the West Somerset Railway route, which is work in progress. Hopefully with some new track in the future, although much was improvised and made up to be more appropriate for my video. We hope you enjoyed it with extra footage at the end. So please do hang around. Please do subscribe, and if you have any ideas, do pop a message in the comments section below. I'm Jonathan, and I can't wait to do a new video for you all, but until then, goodbye.